My best friend gave me a lucky charm bracelet. It ended up destroying my family. I had it all. A happy family, a successful career, beauty and money. People always said I was born lucky. My best friend, Stella, came back from a trip abroad with a gift for me. A beautiful lucky charm bracelet. I happily wore it to our next family gathering, where my grandparents and parents all complimented how lovely it was. But I never imagined what would happen next. 2 weeks later, my grandpa fell during his morning walk, breaking his leg and leaving him bedridden. My grandma had a sudden heart attack. Even after they saved her, she was left confused and disoriented. My parents got into a car crash, and my straight-A sister came down with a fever and diarrhea during her SATs, scoring in the low hundreds. The project I was leading at work was suddenly exposed for data fraud. I didn't just lose my job, I was hit with a mountain of debt. In just 2 months, I was a shadow of my former self. I lost a terrifying amount of weight, my hair was falling out in clumps, and the wrinkles around my eyes were etched as deep as knife cuts. My once smooth skin was covered in a red rash. My boyfriend called me a jinx, cleared out our joint accounts, and broke up with me. I went to Stella for comfort, only to find her driving the luxury car I'd been saving up for, and living in the waterfront condo I'd been forced to sell to pay off my debts. And her sister, who had always been at the bottom of her class, had somehow gotten into a top-tier university. Seeing her looking so triumphant, the last thread of my sanity snapped. I walked straight into a red light at a busy intersection. Only after I died did I see the truth. The beads of that lucky charm bracelet were engraved with my exact birth date and time. It had been used to steal my good fortune. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the moment Stella handed me the bracelet, her smile painfully sincere. Wear this. It'll bring you endless good fortune and make all your wishes come true. This time I was going to make sure all that bad luck bounced right back to her, doubled. Wear this. It'll bring you endless good fortune and make all your wishes come true. The familiar voice echoed in my ears. I snapped my head up and saw Stella's perfectly made-up face. She was smiling at me, holding a red velvet box. Inside lay a string of translucent, emerald green beads, the lucky charm bracelet. My heart hammered against my ribs. I knew this scene all too well. 3 months ago, Stella had returned from a trip to Thailand and given me this bracelet as a gift. I put it on, overjoyed, with no idea that the seemingly ordinary beads would suck away all my good luck and bring ruin to me and my family. But now I was back. Chloe? What's wrong? Stella tilted her head, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. Don't you like it? I got it from the most famous temple in Thailand. It's been blessed. I forced down the tidal wave of panic in my chest and managed a smile. Of course not. It's beautiful. I took the box, my fingertips trembling slightly. Stella smiled, satisfied, and reached out to help me put it on. I hear they're incredibly powerful. I got 2, one for each of us. She shook her own wrist, showing off a nearly identical bracelet. I stared at it, the image I saw just before my death flashing through my mind. The beads engraved with my birth information, and hers engraved with her own. She used this bracelet to steal my luck and transfer her misfortune onto me and my family. Thank you, I love it, I said softly, pretending to admire the bracelet on my wrist while secretly watching her expression. A flicker of triumph, so fast it was almost imperceptible, crossed her face. But this time I saw it. Oh right, isn't your family dinner tomorrow? It's the perfect chance to wear it, Stella mentioned, as if the thought had just occurred to her. My heart clenched. In my past life, it was at that dinner that my whole family praised the bracelet. After that, disaster struck, my grandpa's fall, my grandma's heart attack, my parents' car crash, my sister bombing her SATs. Yeah, I will, I nodded, feigning nonchalance as I changed the subject. So, how was your trip to Thailand? Stella immediately launched into a vivid account of her travels, but I didn't hear a single word. My mind was racing, trying to figure out a plan. In my last life, I didn't uncover the truth until right before I killed myself. Now that I was back, I had to stop the tragedy from repeating itself. Chloe, you seem a little out of it today, Stella suddenly said, interrupting her story to look at me with concern. I snapped back to reality. I guess I'm just a little tired. I rubbed my temples. This project at work has been crazy. Well, you need to take care of yourself, Stella said, patting my hand. The lucky charm will watch over you. Her fake concern made my stomach turn. I was fooled by this act for 10 years. From college roommates to inseparable best friends, I never once questioned her intentions. Stella, I asked suddenly, do you believe in fate? She paused, then laughed. Of course I do. Why else would I go all the way to a temple to get these charms? Then what do you think happens to someone who steals another person's good luck? I stared directly into her eyes. Stella's smile froze for a split second before she recovered. Who knows about superstitious stuff like that? She glanced at her watch. Oh shoot, I have a nail appointment. I've got to run. I nodded. Okay, talk to you later. Watching her hurry away, I knew she was spooked. The old me was too naive to ever test her. But things were different now. When I got home, I immediately took off the bracelet and examined it with a magnifying glass. The surface of the beads was flawless, showing no signs of tampering. I hesitated for a moment, then picked up a small hammer and gently tapped one of the beads. As it cracked open, I held my breath. Sure enough, inside was a line of tiny engraved characters, my exact birth date and time. My hands shook as I took a picture, then carefully cleaned up the fragments. I couldn't wear this bracelet anymore, but I couldn't let Stella get suspicious either. The next day, I wore a nearly identical fake bracelet to the family dinner. Just as before, everyone praised it. Chloe, that bracelet looks stunning on you, my mom said with a smile. It really does. Stella has great taste in gifts, my dad added. I swallowed my fear and nodded with a smile. Looking at my happy, healthy family, I made a silent vow. This time, I will protect them all. After the dinner, I immediately contacted a professor of folklore and sent him the photo of the engraved bead. This looks a lot like a luck-stealing ritual from Southeast Asia, the professor replied. By engraving a person's birth information onto a talisman, one can steal their good fortune through a specific ceremony. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time before I typed. Is there a way to break it? You'd have to find the person who cast the spell, or go to the source to break it. This kind of dark magic has a powerful backlash, so the caster usually takes protective measures. I closed my laptop and stared out the window into the night. Stella, my best friend for a decade. I treated you like a sister. Why would you do this to me? My phone buzzed. It was a message from Stella. Chloe, how are you liking the bracelet? Feeling luckier yet? I let out a cold laugh and replied, it's amazing. Work was incredibly smooth today. That's great. Remember to wear it all the time. Don't even take it off when you shower. I stared at the message. She said the exact same thing in my past life. Looking back now, she was just afraid the charm would stop working. Over the next few days, I wore the fake bracelet in public while secretly investigating Stella. I hired a private investigator and found out she'd been in frequent contact with a Thai phone number and had made several wire transfers to an overseas account. What shocked me even more was that Stella's sister, Sarah, the one who got into a top university because of my family's bad luck, had recently taken a leave of absence from school to go to Thailand. It was all too much of a coincidence. A week later, Stella asked me out to dinner. I arrived early on purpose and saw something in the restaurant bathroom that made my blood run cold. Stella was checking her own Lucky Charm bracelet, and inside one of the beads, I could clearly see her own birth information engraved. She looked up and saw me in the mirror, hastily pulling down her sleeve. Chloe, you're here. Yeah, just got here, I said, pretending I hadn't seen anything. But my mind was reeling. I was now certain she was using these bracelets to perform the luck-stealing ritual. During dinner, Stella kept asking about how I was doing, especially about my family. I made up a few stories about things going well. A flash of disappointment crossed her eyes before she plastered on another smile. Chloe, I might have to go back to Thailand next month. Want to come with? She proposed suddenly. Warning bells went off in my head. Why are you going back so soon? I have to discuss a project, she said, her eyes shifting. And maybe visit the temple again. I pretended to think about it. Work is too crazy right now. I probably can't make it. That's too bad, she sighed. The high monk there is really powerful. He can help people change their fate. Change your fate? Or steal someone else's? I suppressed my anger and changed the subject. When I got home, I immediately called the investigator and told him to focus on Stella's upcoming trip to Thailand and this so-called high monk. 3 days later, the investigator sent me a file. It contained photos of Stella in front of a remote temple in Thailand, along with information on a Thai man, Ajarn Pu, a master known for his luck-altering rituals, though rumor had it most of his magic was dark. I stared at the picture of the sinister-looking man and made a decision. I was going to Thailand to find him. I wasn't just going to break the curse. I was going to make Stella suffer the consequences of her own actions. The humid, tropical air hit me the moment I stepped off the plane at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport. I tightened my face mask and pulled my carry-on through the noisy arrivals hall. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Stella. "Chloe, why haven't you answered my texts? There's a party this weekend, you should come." I scoffed and typed back a quick reply. "Buried in overtime. Probably can't make it this weekend." I sent the text and immediately turned off my phone, not wanting to deal with her anymore. At the airport exit, a young, dark-skinned man held up a sign with my name on it. This was the local guide I'd hired in advance, Art. "Thawasti," Art said, pressing his palms together in a traditional greeting. "Ms. Yu, your hotel is all arranged." On the way to the hotel, I cautiously asked, "Art, have you ever heard of a man named Ajarn Pu?" In the rearview mirror, I saw Art's eyes flicker. "You mean the master?" "Yes, him. I want to see him." Art swallowed hard. "Ms. Yu, that's not really a place for tourists. Ajarn Pu isn't a normal monk, I know what he does," I cut in, pulling a thick envelope from my bag. "Take me to him, and this is yours." Art hesitated for a full minute before taking the envelope. "I'll pick you up at 6 tomorrow morning. And remember, wear dark clothes and no makeup." The air conditioner in my hotel room hummed quietly. I lay on the bed, unable to sleep. My phone's photo gallery was filled with the last few pictures the PI had sent me. Stella standing in front of a rundown temple, her expression pious. Another was a photo of her with a gaunt old man whose sinister eyes told me he had to be Ajarn Pu. Outside, the neon lights of Bangkok glowed tirelessly. I rubbed the fake charm bracelet on my wrist, my thoughts drifting back to the moments before I died in my past life. Stella living in my waterfront condo, driving the car of my dreams, while her sister attended the elite university that should have been my sister's. "This time, it's your turn, Stella," I whispered into the empty room. At 5 in the morning, before the sun was up, Art knocked on my door. I was already dressed as he'd instructed, a black tracksuit, my face bare. As we drove out of downtown Bangkok, the roads grew narrower, and modern skyscrapers gave way to low-slung shacks. Art's expression grew more and more tense. "Ms. Yu," he said suddenly, "no matter what you see later, don't act surprised. Ajarn Pu doesn't like impolite guests." I nodded, my heart pounding. An hour later, the car stopped in front of a dilapidated temple. It was less a temple and more a crude shack, with faded prayer flags hanging by the door and a strange, foul stench hanging in the air. Art went to the door and knocked, speaking a few quiet words in Thai. The wooden door creaked open, revealing a wrinkled face. It was Ajarn Pu from the photo. He was smaller and thinner in person, but his eyes burned with a frightening intensity, like two will-o'-the-wisps. He looked me up and down, then spoke in broken English. "You have the smell of a curse on you." I flinched, shocked that he knew immediately. Art tactfully retreated to a distance. Ajarn Pu motioned for me to follow him inside. The room was dim, the altar covered with bizarre statues and jars. In the corner was a pile of dried, unidentifiable objects. "Sit," he said, pointing to a straw mat on the floor. Fighting my revulsion, I sat down and got straight to the point. Someone used a lucky charm bracelet to steal my good fortune.
Ajarn Pu grinned, revealing yellowed teeth.
"I know. I made that bracelet." I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. "Why did you help her hurt me?" "Just business," he said, casually fiddling with a small skull. "She paid, I did the work." "I want to break this curse," I said, looking him straight in the eye. "And I want her to pay for what she has done." Ajarn Pu burst out laughing, a harsh, crow-like sound. "Interesting. The first time someone has come to me to break my own spell. He leaned closer, his breath smelling of decay. Do you know the price of breaking it? Money is no object. It's not about money, he said, shaking his head. Once this kind of spell is broken, the backlash is severe. Your friend could die. I was silent for a moment. The images of my family's ruin flashed through my mind. I heard myself say, she deserves it. Ajarn Pu narrowed his eyes. I like your determination. He stood up and took a wooden box from under the altar. To break the curse you need 3 things. Your blood, her hair, and a sincere heart. A sincere heart? A heart sincere in its hatred, sincere in its desire for revenge. He opened the box, revealing a small, rusty knife and a cloth pouch. Get 3 strands of her hair, and put 7 drops of your blood in this pouch. On the night of the full moon, burn the pouch and your lucky charm bracelet together. I took the box. Is that all? No, that's just the beginning. Ajarn Pu said with a sinister smile. The real ritual requires more ingredients. Are you sure you want to do this? Once you start, there's no turning back. I nodded without hesitation. I'm sure. When I left the temple, Art looked at me with a mixture of fear and respect. On the way back, he kept trying to say something. Just say what's on your mind, I said, leaning back tiredly. Ms. You, Art stammered, did Ajarn Pu give you something? That kind of thing. It's very dangerous. I clutched the wooden box. Compared to what's already happened to me, this is nothing. Back at the hotel, I immediately contacted the PI back home and told him to get me a sample of Stella's hair. Then I opened my laptop and started researching Thai black magic. The more I read, the more horrified I became. The lucky charm bracelet was just the most basic form of luck stealing. More vicious spells could lead to a family's complete destruction, just like the accidents that had befallen my family in my past life. That evening, the PI sent a message. Hair sample acquired. How do you want it delivered? I replied, hide it under the flower pot outside my apartment door. I'll get it when I'm back. My phone vibrated again. It was Stella. I took a deep breath and answered. Chloe, you finally answered. Her voice was filled with fake concern. Where have you been? I was so worried. I was on a business trip. Forgot to tell you, I said, forcing my tone to sound normal. Oh, I see, she paused. By the way, are you still wearing the bracelet? Of course. You said never to take it off, I replied, looking at the fake on my wrist and smirking. Good. Her voice sounded audibly relieved. We have to get together when you're back. After hanging up, I stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, looking out at the Bangkok skyline. Stella must think her plan is foolproof. Little does she know I already have the weapon to fight back. The next day, I went to Bangkok's largest market for Buddhist amulets and bought some ordinary charms and talismans as a cover. On the way back to the hotel, I passed an antique shop with all sorts of old trinkets in the window. Suddenly, a necklace caught my eye, a silver chain with a dark red bead, made of a material similar to my charm bracelet. The shop owner was an elderly Chinese woman. Seeing my interest, she spoke to me in Mandarin. Young lady, you have a good eye. This is an old piece, it has some history. What is this made of? I asked, pointing to the red bead. Blood amber. It's very rare, the old woman said in a low voice. They say it has special powers, to protect you. An idea sparked in my mind. Can I see it? The old woman handed me the necklace. The moment the bead touched my skin, the fake charm bracelet on my wrist suddenly became scorching hot. I almost cried out. What's wrong? The owner asked, confused. Nothing, I said, forcing myself to stay calm. I'll take it. After paying, I quickly left the shop. Once I was somewhere private, I examined the blood amber bead closely. I could see faint, tiny patterns inside, like some kind of script. Could this also be a magical artifact? Back at the hotel, I tried placing the blood amber bead next to the wooden box from Ajarn Pu. Something strange happened. The box began to vibrate slightly, and the small knife inside let out a faint hum. I stumbled back a few steps. This bead was no ordinary antique. My phone rang. It was a notification from the airline. My return flight was scheduled for noon tomorrow. Looking at the souvenirs on my bed, I felt a mix of anticipation and fear. Anticipation for the revenge to come, and fear of the unknown power I now held. But no matter what, the game had begun. And this time, I wouldn't be the one to lose. The moment my plane landed and I switched on my phone, it was flooded with over a dozen messages. Most were from Stella, her tone shifting from concern to anxious. "Chloe, where on earth are you? Call me when you get this? The office said you took time off. Is everything okay? The last message was from 2 hours ago. I'm at your apartment. It's urgent." I let out a cold laugh and silenced my phone. After grabbing my luggage, I went straight to the airport restroom, took the blood amber bead out of my purse, and put it on the thin silver chain around my neck. The cool bead rested against my collarbone, giving me a strange sense of security. On the cab ride home, I kept replaying Ajarn Pu's words in my head. "Once you start, there's no turning back." The city blurred past the window, sunlight dappling my hands. In my last life, I was too naive, and that is how Stella destroyed my family. This time, I wouldn't be so forgiving. The car pulled up to my apartment complex. I pulled my hat down low, scanning the area to make sure no one was watching before I swiped my key card. The elevator rose to my floor. The second the doors opened, I saw Stella crouched in front of my door. She was dressed in a chic beige suit, her hair perfectly styled. The Lucky Charm bracelet on her wrist glinted with an eerie green light under the hallway fluorescence. When she heard the elevator, she shot up, her face a mask of worry. "Chloe." She ran over, trying to grab my hand. "Where have you been?" I was worried sick. I took a step back, avoiding her touch. "I had to go abroad for something last minute." Stella's smile faltered. Her eyes fell to the new blood amber bead on my neck. "Is that necklace new?" "Yeah, a souvenir," I said, deliberately fiddling with the bead. I saw her pupils contract slightly. "It's unique," she said, quickly schooling her expression. "By the way, the quarterly meeting is tomorrow. Can I see your presentation beforehand? I can help you look it over." My internal alarm blared. In my last life, it was right before this meeting that my project data was mysteriously leaked, causing me to be publicly humiliated and setting the stage for the later data fraud accusation. "No thanks, I've got it covered," I said, pulling out my keys to unlock the door, signaling the conversation was over. But Stella wouldn't let it go. "Chloe, you've been acting strange lately. Did something happen?" She lowered her voice. "Is it the Lucky Charm bracelet? Is there a problem with it?" My hand froze on the key. Was she testing me? "Of course not," I said, feigning surprise. "I love it. I just took it off because I was worried about getting it wet in the shower, so I put it away for safekeeping." Stella visibly relaxed, then put on her concerned friend act again. "Just don't take it off for too long, or it might lose its power." "I know," I said, forcing a smile. "See you at work tomorrow." I shut the door, immediately locked it, and leaned against it, letting out a long breath. Through the peephole, I saw Stella stand there for a full minute before finally leaving. After dropping my bags, the first thing I did was check the flower pot by the door. The investigator had hidden the envelope with Stella's hair underneath, just as ID asked. I carefully retrieved it and put it in the small cloth pouch from Ajarn Pu. Then I took a sealed bag from the back of a drawer. Inside was the real Lucky Charm bracelet. The emerald green beads were crystal clear under the light. Who would have thought something so beautiful could hold such a vicious curse? I locked the bracelet and the pouch in my safe, then opened my laptop to review my presentation for the meeting. This time, I had 2 versions ready, a normal one, and another one with a hidden trap. My phone buzzed again. It was my sister Lily. "Hey, sis. Mock exams are next week. Can you look over my essay?" In my last life, Lily was already showing symptoms of diarrhea at this point. But because I hadn't actually worn the bracelet, she seemed perfectly fine. My eyes welled up. "Of course. Send me a picture." After handling my emails, I took a hot shower. On the fogged-up mirror, the blood amber bead glowed with a dark red light. On an impulse, I took it off and held it up to the light to examine it. Suddenly, something inside the bead seemed to flash. I leaned in closer and could just make out a few tiny symbols. They were similar to the script in the charm bracelet, but not quite the same. "What on earth is this?" I murmured, putting the necklace back on. I lay in bed that night, wide awake. Tomorrow was my first direct confrontation with Stella. I couldn't afford any mistakes. The next morning, I arrived at the office 2 hours early and loaded my presentation onto the conference room computer. At 8, my colleagues started trickling in. Stella walked in, heels clicking, and gave me a meaningful smile. "Chloe, you're looking good today," she said, leaning in. Her eyes darted to my neck. "That necklace really suits you." I pretended to organize some papers, avoiding her gaze. "Thanks." The meeting started at 9 sharp. When it was my turn to present my project, I took a deep breath and stood up. Just then, Stella raised her hand. "Director, I helped Chloe look over her presentation yesterday, and I think some of the data might need to be double-checked." The director frowned. "What's the issue?" All eyes turned to me. Stella put on a troubled expression. "It's just, the sources for some of the data are a little unclear." This was her exact move from my past life. First, question the data's authenticity, then secretly tamper with it to frame me for fraud. My expression didn't change as I clicked the mouse. Stella must be mistaken. I have the complete raw data and all the survey records right here. A completely different page appeared on the screen. This was my backup plan. Stella's face fell. How is that possible?" I smiled, showing slide after slide of officially stamped original documents. All the data was triple-checked. "If you still have questions, Stella, you can review the backups anytime." The director nodded, satisfied. "Excellent work. Continue." After the meeting, Stella cornered me in the hallway. "When did you prepare all of that?" "It's always been there," I said, blinking innocently. "Weren't you supposed to be helping me look it over? How did you miss it?" A flash of malice crossed her eyes, quickly replaced by a smile. "I must have overlooked it. Anyway, my birthday party is this weekend. You have to come." "I'll be there," I agreed, knowing full well it was a trap. Back at my desk, I immediately texted the PI. "I need the guest list for Stella's party this weekend. Pay special attention to anyone who might be from Thailand." At 3 in the afternoon, he replied. "The list includes a Sarah Sue, just returned from Thailand. There's also an Asian man with an English name, registered as staff from a temple." I gripped my phone. Just as I thought. Stella was planning something for the party. In my last life, it was right after her birthday party that my string of bad luck began. After work, I didn't go straight home. I drove to a popular temple on the outskirts of the city. The abbot was a kind-faced old man. Seeing me staring at a string of prayer beads, he struck up a conversation. "Something on your mind, young lady?" I hesitated for a moment, then took off the blood amber necklace. "Master, have you ever seen a bead like this?" The abbot took the bead, and his expression changed instantly. Where did you get this?" "An antique shop in Bangkok." The abbot examined it closely, then muttered a Buddhist prayer. "This object is dangerous. There is a presence of blood and violence within it. Have you experienced any strange occurrences lately?" My heart skipped a beat. I briefly told him about the lucky charm bracelet, leaving out the parts about being reborn and meeting Ajarn Pu. The abbot sighed deeply. "This is a blood curse charm. It's the natural enemy of a luck-stealing charm. The person who gave you that bracelet clearly had ill intentions. But this blood curse charm," he trailed off. "What will it do?" I asked urgently. "An eye for an eye. A curse for a curse," the abbot said, handing the bead back to me. "Be careful, my child." As I left the temple, the setting sun stained the sky a bloody red. I touched the blood amber bead on my neck, finally understanding why Ajarn Pu had said there was no turning back. This charm would rebound the curse, amplified. Stella was likely to suffer a fate far worse than mine. But I had no other choice. Back home, I took the lucky charm bracelet and the pouch of hair from the safe. Following Ajarn Pu's instructions, I used a small, rusty knife to prick my finger. The drop of blood hit the cloth pouch and was instantly absorbed, vanishing without a trace. "Stella," I whispered into the empty air, "you brought this on yourself." On the day of Stella's birthday, I started getting ready 2 hours early. In front of the mirror, I put on the blood amber necklace. The bead glowed with a dark red light against my collarbone. I sewn the small pouch from Ajarn Pu, the one with Stella's hair and my blood, into a hidden pocket in my bra. My phone buzzed. It was my sister. "Hey, sis. My friend is having a birthday party. So I want to be home for dinner tonight. I immediately texted back, where? With who? The memories of my past life made me hyper-aware of my sister's every move. Just a karaoke place near school. A few of the girls from my class. I breathed a sigh of relief, sending a few more reminders before putting my phone down. The sky outside was dark with clouds. The forecast called for a thunderstorm tonight, perfect weather for a ritual. Stella's party was at the new villa she was renting. In my past life, this was supposed to be my marital home. I stood before the ornate iron gate, took a deep breath, and rang the bell. To my surprise, it was Sarah who opened the door. She'd gained some weight since I last saw her, and her cheeks were rosy. She looked nothing like the sickly girl from my previous life. When she saw me, a strange look flashed in her eyes. "Chloe, you're here," she said sweetly, though her gaze was fixed on the blood amber bead on my neck. "That necklace is so unique." "Thanks," I said, pretending not to notice her strange behavior. "Where's your sister?" "In the garden with the cake." There were already about 20 people in the villa, mostly colleagues from work. I noticed a dark-skinned Asian man standing in a corner, speaking quietly with Stella. As soon as I walked in, Stella rushed over to greet me. "Chloe, you finally made it." She was wearing a red dress today, and the lucky charm bracelet on her wrist had been replaced with a thicker one. Its beads an unnaturally deep green. She pulled me by the hand toward the garden. "I want you to meet someone. This is Luang Pho Boon, a master from Thailand." The Asian man pressed his palms together in a greeting, but his eyes were locked on my blood amber bead. He wore a necklace of bone beads that gave off a faint, foul smell. "Sawasdee," he said, his English thick with an accent. "Your bead. It is very special." I fought back my discomfort and returned the greeting. "Thank you. It's just a normal accessory." Stella chimed in. "The master is a famous high monk in Thailand. He came all this way just for my birthday." She added with a pointed look, "He is especially skilled in luck-altering magic." I feigned surprise. "Really? What an honor." The party continued under a cloud of weird tension. Luang Pho Boon never strayed far from me, while Stella was unusually insistent on plying me with drinks. Each time, I took a glass, pretended to sip it, and then secretly poured it out. At 8 o'clock, Stella brought out the birthday cake. After everyone sang, she suddenly suggested, "I heard there's a total lunar eclipse tonight. Let us go make a wish in the garden." My heart tightened. The night of the full moon. The exact time Ajarn Pu had specified for the ritual. The crowd moved toward the garden. I deliberately hung back and saw Stella exchange a look with Luang Pho Boon. The sky was completely overcast, with no moon in sight, but Stella still had everyone hold hands and form a circle. "Close your eyes and make a wish with all your heart," she announced. The moment I closed my eyes, I felt something cold on my wrist. Someone was putting something on me. I squinted and saw Stella slipping a second charm bracelet onto my wrist. This one had beads of a bizarre dark red color. Luang Pho Boon began chanting in Thai, his voice low and guttural. I felt the blood amber bead on my chest suddenly grow scorching hot, so hot I nearly cried out. "Now everyone shout happy birthday." Stella's voice rose. Just as the crowd cheered, a bolt of lightning split the sky, followed by a deafening clap of thunder. Rain began to pour down, and people screamed, running back inside. In the chaos, I wrenched my hand free from Stella's, pretended to stumble, and used the opportunity to rip the dark red bracelet off my wrist and stuff it in my bag. This had to be her new gift. I had to figure out what it was. "Chloe, are you okay?" Stella yelled through the rain. "I have to go," I shouted back. "I just remembered something urgent." Without waiting for a reply, I sprinted to the parking lot, jumped in my car, and sped away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Stella standing in the downpour, her face dark and menacing. When I got home, I immediately locked the doors and windows and took out the dark red charm bracelet. Under my desk lamp, I could see a thread of black material inside each bead, like dried blood. I put on a pair of rubber gloves and carefully pried one of the beads open with tweezers. Inside was a tiny sliver of a fingernail. Fighting back a wave of nausea, I checked another bead and found a strand of hair, the color almost identical to mine. "What kind of dark magic is this?" I whispered, my hands trembling as I took pictures and sent them to Ajarn Pu. Less than 5 minutes later, a video call request came from him. On the screen, he looked even more haggard than before, but his eyes were frighteningly bright. "Where did you get this?" he asked in his broken English. I quickly explained what had happened at the party. Ajarn Pu's expression grew grimmer and grimmer. "This is a blood curse charm, far more vicious than the luck-stealing one," he hissed. "Using your nails and hair, it can slowly drain your life force." A chill went down my spine. "And Luang Fobun, my former student, a traitor," Ajarn Pu said, his eyes flashing with hatred. "He specializes in black magic, 100 times more ruthless than me. What do I do now?" I clutched the blood amber bead. "Tonight is the full moon." Ajarn Pu was silent for a moment. "Do you have her hair and your blood?" "Yes." "Then proceed with the original plan," he said, a grim smile spreading across his face. "At the peak of the full moon, burn the luck-stealing bracelet and the pouch together. But remember, this time, you must add a piece of her fingernail." My heart sank. "I can't get her fingernail." "You have it," Ajarn Pu said, his gaze fixed on the blood curse bracelet in my hand. "That charm has your nail in it, so it must have hers too. The caster must use a part of their own body as a catalyst." After the call, I immediately started dismantling the blood curse bracelet. Sure enough, in the very last bead, I found a tiny fragment of a nail painted with red polish, Stella's favorite color. The clock struck 11. The rain was coming down harder than ever. Following Ajarn Pu's instructions, I placed the luck-stealing bracelet, the pouch with Stella's hair and my blood, and the nail fragment into a metal basin. Just as I struck a match, my phone rang. It was my sister, Chloe. Her voice was choked with sobs. "My friend just collapsed. We're at Mercy Hospital. Can you come?" My heart seized. "What happened? Weren't you at karaoke?" "We were, but Stella invited us to her party. She said it was a surprise for you." I felt like I'd been plunged into ice water. "You went to Stella's party?" "Yeah, but we just got there and Amy fainted, and she kept talking nonsense." I looked out at the raging storm. Memories of my past life flooded back. My sister had collapsed at a party in a similar accident, which led to the persistent fever and diarrhea that ruined her SATs. "I'm on my way," I said, hanging up. I glanced at the basin, gritted my teeth, and lit the contents on fire. The moment the flames shot up, a bolt of lightning tore across the sky, illuminating the entire room. In the fire's glow, I thought I heard a distant scream. Without waiting for the ashes to cool, I grabbed my car keys and ran out the door. Rain lashed against the windshield, the wipers swiping frantically but barely clearing my vision. I gripped the steering wheel, the blood amber bead burning against my chest like a hot coal. The emergency room was a blaze of lights. I burst in, drenched, and saw my sister sitting alone on a bench, her face pale. "Lily." I ran over and hugged her. "Where's your friend?" "She's in there. They're working on her," Lily said, her voice trembling as she pointed to a room. She kept saying she was cold and seeing shadows. That's when I noticed a strange bracelet on Lily's wrist, a few wooden beads strung on a red cord, looking completely ordinary. "Where did you get this?" I demanded. My tone scared her. Stella gave it to me. She said it would keep me safe." I ripped the bracelet off her wrist, and the wooden beads scattered across the floor. One of them had cracked open, revealing a black powder inside. Lily suddenly clutched her stomach. "It hurts." I frantically pressed the nurse's call button and dialed Stella's number. The phone rang for a long time before she answered. I could faintly hear a woman crying in the background. "What did you do to them?" I hissed. Stella's laugh came through the phone, sounding more horrible than a sob. "What's wrong, Chloe? So angry?" "My sister is in the hospital, and her friend is fighting for her life." I seethed. "If anything happens to them, I swear I will make you pay." "That's strange," Stella said lightly. "My birthday cake just caught on fire. I almost burned my hand." I remembered the ritual burning in my apartment. Had the backlash already started? A nurse rushed over and wheeled Lily into an exam room. I collapsed onto a bench and pulled out the blood amber bead. The once dark red gem was now a vibrant, blood red, and the script inside was clearly visible, almost pulsing with life. The ER door opened, and a doctor came out. "Who's here for Amy Lynn?" I stood up. "I'm her sister's friend. Her parents are on their way." The doctor's face was grave. "The patient's condition is very strange. All her vitals are normal, but she is unconscious and delirious. We need to run more tests." I thanked him and sat back down. My phone buzzed again. It was a message from Art in Thailand. "Ms. Yu, Ajarn Pu told me to tell you the ritual has started, but be careful of a counterattack." I was about to reply when I heard a familiar sound from the end of the hall, the click of high heels on the linoleum floor. I looked up and saw Stella walking toward me in her red dress, the lucky charm on her wrist glowing with an eerie green light under the harsh hospital fluorescence. "Chloe," she said with a sweet smile. "I heard Lily wasn't feeling well, so I came to see her." I stood in front of the exam room door. "You're not welcome here." Stella tilted her head, her eyes as cold as a snake's. "That hurts. I even brought a gift." She took a small box out of her purse. "A special talisman, just for Lily." I slapped the box out of her hand. "Enough. I've seen through your games." The box hit the floor and popped open. A few black pills rolled out, emitting a pungent, foul odor. A passing nurse frowned at us. "Ma'am, please don't throw things in the hospital." Stella bent down, picked up the pills, and whispered in my ear, "You think burning the bracelet means you've won? You're so naive." Her breath was hot against my skin. "The game has just begun." She turned and walked away, the sound of her heels echoing down the hall. I stood frozen, the blood amber bead on my chest so hot it felt like it was about to burn through my skin. The doctor came out just then. "Ms. Yu, your sister needs to be admitted for observation. We found an unknown toxin in her blood." I stared in the direction Stella had gone and clenched the blood amber bead. "Doctor, can you test this for me?" The doctor took the bead, confused. "What is it?" "It might be the source of the poison." Looking skeptical, the doctor took the bead to the lab. I sat by my sister's bedside, looking at her pale face, and the rage inside me burned hotter than ever. "Stella, since you insist on playing this game, I'll be happy to see it through to the end." The lights in the hospital hallway flickered. I'd been by my sister's bedside for 6 hours. The doctor still hadn't returned the blood amber bead, and Lily's condition hadn't improved. She stopped crying out in pain and had fallen into a strange, deep sleep. At 3 in the morning, the door to her room creaked open. I looked up sharply to see the doctor holding a sealed evidence bag. Inside was my blood amber bead. "The test results are unusual," the doctor said, pushing up his glasses. "The surface of this bead contains an organic toxin we've never seen before. It's similar to the compound in your sister's blood, but at a much higher concentration." I took the bag. "Is it life-threatening?" "We're not sure yet," the doctor hesitated. "What's stranger is that during testing, the bead's temperature rose abnormally high. It even melted some of our equipment." I clutched the bag, feeling the bead's warmth through the plastic. "Is there an antidote?" "We're consulting with toxicology experts," the doctor said, glancing at my sleeping sister. "Your sister's condition is stable for now, but the other girl. What about Amy?" I asked, my heart sinking. "She's showing signs of organ failure," the doctor said in a low voice. "We suspect she was exposed to a much larger dose of the toxin." I immediately thought of the wooden bead bracelet I'd ripped from Lily's wrist. Amy must have come into direct contact with the black powder inside. "Stella, you monster." After the doctor left, I took the slightly warm blood amber bead out of the bag and put it back on. Strangely, it was no longer burning hot. Instead, a comfortable warmth spread from it, as if it were trying to soothe me. Outside, the sky was beginning to lighten. I turned on my phone and saw a dozen missed calls, all from the private investigator. The latest text read, "Urgent. Stella was rushed to the hospital this morning with a sudden illness." I immediately called him back. The PI's voice was buzzing with excitement. "Ms. Yu, the target collapsed at home this morning and was taken to Mercy General. My source at the hospital says she is suffering from unexplained internal bleeding, and the weirdest part is..." "What is it?" I pressed. "The bracelet she was wearing on her wrist. When the doctors tried to take it off for examination, they found the beads have grown into her flesh." I gasped. Was this the backlash Ajarn Pu had warned me about? After hanging up, I looked at my sleeping sister and decided to take a risk. I had to go to Mercy General and see for myself. Before I left, I scribbled a note and left it on Lily's nightstand. Sis, have to run an errand. Be back soon. If you feel sick at all, press the call button immediately. Mercy General was even busier in the morning than at night. I wore a mask and a hat, blending in with the crowd of visitors. According to the PI, Stella was in the VIP wing on the 8th floor. The elevator doors had just opened when I heard a blood-curdling scream. A crowd of doctors and nurses was gathered outside a room at the end of the hall. Someone was shouting, "Hold her down! Increase the sedative!" I crept closer, peering through a gap in the crowd to see what was happening inside. Stella was being held down on the bed by 4 male orderlies. She was struggling wildly. The Lucky Charm bracelet on her wrist had turned a dark, sickly black. Just as the PI had said, the beads were partially embedded in her skin, the surrounding flesh festering and oozing pus. "No. Get it off me. It's eating me," Stella shrieked, her voice nothing like its usual sweet tone. A doctor tried to grasp one of the beads with a pair of forceps, but Stella let out an inhuman howl, broke free from the orderlies, and slammed her head against the wall. Blood gushed from her forehead, but she seemed not to feel the pain, continuing to slam her wrist against the wall. "Quick! Restrain her!" the doctor yelled. I backed away, my heart pounding like a drum. Was this the power of the curse's backlash? I touched the blood amber bead on my chest. It vibrated slightly, as if responding to my thoughts. "Chloe?" A voice came from behind me. I froze, then turned to see Sarah standing by the elevator, holding a bag of breakfast. She looked much worse than last night, her eyes red and swollen as if she'd been crying all night. What are you doing here?" she stammered. "Are you here to see my sister?" I quickly composed myself. I heard she was sick, so I came to check on her. Sarah's expression suddenly turned venomous. "You did this, didn't you?" she said, taking a step closer. "Ever since you started wearing that red necklace, everything's gone wrong." I instinctively covered the blood amber bead. "I don't know what you're talking about." After the party last night, my sister started talking nonsense, saying the beads were biting her. Sarah's voice grew shrill. "When I found her this morning, the bracelet on her wrist had already..." She couldn't finish, bursting into tears. That's when I noticed her right hand was wrapped in a bandage, with faint bloodstains seeping through. "What happened to your hand?" I asked. Sarah jerked her hand back. "None of your business." She glared at me. "I know what you did. Luang Fobun said only you can break this curse." My heart jumped, so Luang Fobun was definitely working with Stella. "Your sister is just sick. It has nothing to do with me," I said, feigning innocence. "Stop pretending." Sarah suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Give me the necklace. The master said it's an evil object, that it will kill my sister." Her grip was surprisingly strong, her nails digging into my flesh. I struggled to break free, but then I heard a rip. She had torn the necklace off. The blood amber bead clattered to the floor. Sarah lunged for it like it was a priceless treasure, but the moment she touched it, she let out a piercing scream. The bead glowed red-hot in her hand, a wisp of smoke rising from it. "Ah! It's burning!" she shrieked, shaking her hand and staring in horror at the blister forming on her palm. I seized the opportunity to snatch the bead and run. Behind me, Sarah's hysterical voice screamed, "You'll regret this. Luang Fobun won't let you get away with it." Inside the elevator, my hands trembled as I examined the blood amber bead. It was still warm, but no longer burning. The symbols on its surface seemed even clearer than before. Strangest of all, the broken silver chain had somehow mended itself, completely intact. When I got back to the hospital where Lily was, I found her awake and weakly sipping water. "Sis," she said, smiling when she saw me. "What's that on your neck?" "It's pretty." I touched the blood amber bead. "It's a good luck charm. Are you feeling any better?" "Yeah, just a little tired," Lily said with a frown. "How's Amy?" I hesitated, deciding not to tell her the truth. The doctors are doing everything they can. A nurse came in to change Lily's for, so I stepped into the hallway to call the PI. "I need you to find Luang Fobun's whereabouts. And I need a safe house, as soon as possible." After hanging up, I opened a news app. The headline was screaming at me. Local woman struck by bizarre illness, experts baffled. The accompanying photo was pixelated, but the black beads embedded in the woman's flesh were still horrifyingly clear. The comments section was in an uproar. I heard they can't get the bracelet off. My cousin works at the hospital. She said the beads are like, alive, burrowing into her skin. This is so messed up. You think she is cursed or something? I closed my phone, a storm of emotions swirling inside me. The memories of my past life collided with the present. What Stella was going through now was just a mirror image of the ruin my family had faced. That afternoon, Lily's test results came back. The toxins were slowly leaving her system, and the doctor said she could probably go home in a couple of days. But Amy's condition had worsened. She'd been moved to the ICU. The PI sent a message. Luang Fobun checked into the Hilton last night, then checked out in a hurry this morning. Current whereabouts unknown. I've secured a safe house for you as requested. Address sent to your phone. I replied. Keep an eye on the Sue family, especially Sarah. That evening, just as I was getting ready to move Lily to the safe house, I received a video from an unknown number. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. The video showed Ajarn Pu tied to a chair, his face bloody. Luang Fobun stood behind him, holding a knife made of bone. Ms. Yu, Luang Fobun said in his halting English, if you don't want to see your sister end up like him, be at the abandoned factory on the east side of town at midnight. Come alone and bring the blood amber. Don't call the police or else. The video cut off abruptly. I gripped my phone, my knuckles white. Lily noticed my expression. Sis, what's wrong? Nothing, I said, forcing myself to stay calm. We're just going to stay somewhere else for a few days. After getting Lily settled in the safe house, I stood by the window, watching the sky grow dark. The blood amber bead glowed with a dim red light in the twilight, as if whispering to me. I knew tonight would be a fight for my life. But this time, I wouldn't be alone. The blood amber and I had formed a strange bond. I took out the small knife Ajarn Pu had given me, made a small cut on my fingertip, and let a drop of blood fall onto the bead. It was instantly absorbed, and the symbols inside glowed faintly. An eye for an eye, I whispered. A curse for a curse. At 11 o'clock, I left my sleeping sister in the PI's care and drove alone to the abandoned factory on the east side of town. The blood amber bead was warm against my chest, its heat pulsing with my heartbeat, as if giving me courage. The factory gate was rusted shut, looming like a gaping mouth in the moonlight. I clutched the small knife in my pocket, pushed the gate open, and stepped inside. It was pitch black, except for a faint candlelight glowing from the second floor. Luang Fobun. My voice echoed in the cavernous space. I'm here. There was no answer, only the sound of my own footsteps in the darkness. I made my way up the corroded metal staircase. With every step, the blood amber grew hotter, until it felt like a branding iron by the time I reached the second floor. In the center of the room was a wooden table with 7 black candles arranged in a strange pattern. Ajarn Pu was tied to a chair beside it, his face a bloody mess, one eye swollen shut. Ajarn Pu. I rushed forward, only to be thrown back by an invisible force, landing hard on the floor. Don't waste your energy, Luang Fobun's voice emerged from the shadows. You won't live to see the morning. He stepped out of the darkness, dressed in black robes, his neck draped with bone trinkets. Unlike the last time I saw him, his eyes were bloodshot, and there were fresh bloodstains at the corner of his mouth. Let him go. I scrambled to my feet. I have the blood amber you want. Luang Fobun's eyes fixed greedily on the bead at my chest. A smart girl. But do you really think I believe you'd just hand it over? He snapped his fingers, and more black candles around us suddenly lit up, forming a bizarre circle that trapped me and Ajarn Pu inside. In the flickering light, I saw the floor was covered in red symbols, the air thick with the smell of blood. A blood ritual, Ajarn Pu whispered weakly. Go, he doesn't want the bead. He wants you. Luang Fobun laughed. Still so chatty, my old master. He turned to me. That's right, Ms. Yu. The blood amber has chosen you. The only way I can use it again is to kill you. I took a step back, and the blood amber began to vibrate violently. What did you do to my sister? That little girl? Luang Fobun sneered. The poison in her system was just an appetizer. Once I have the blood amber, she asked next. Rage erupted inside me. I whipped out the small knife, sliced my palm open, and let my blood pour onto the bead. Then let us see who dies first. The moment my blood touched it, the bead exploded with a blinding red light. Luang Fo Boon screamed, covering his eyes.
Impossible.
How could it choose you as its master? In the red glow, the blood symbols on the floor began to writhe and twist like living things. Ajarn Pu suddenly lifted his head and shouted something in Thai. Silence. Luang Fo Boon lunged at Ajarn Pu, the bone knife in his hand aimed straight for his heart. In that split second, the blood amber shot out a beam of red light, striking Luang Fo Boon's wrist. The bone knife clattered to the floor. He howled in pain, clutching his hand as the skin blackened and rotted before my eyes. The backlash, Ajarn Pu managed a weak smile. You forgot, my student. The blood amber despises those who betray their master. Luang Fo Boon collapsed to his knees, staring in horror as his arm decayed. No. This is impossible. I created it. I seized the opportunity, ran to Ajarn Pu, and cut his ropes with the small knife. He leaned weakly against me. The bead. Touch his forehead with the bead. Hearing this, Luang Fo Boon scrambled to his feet to escape. I grabbed a candlestick from the table and threw it at his back. He stumbled and fell. I pounced on him, tore the blood amber from my neck, and pressed it against his forehead. Arg! Luang Fo Boon let out an inhuman scream, his body convulsing violently. The blood amber sizzled like a hot iron against his skin, sending up plumes of smoke. Even more terrifying, the bone trinkets on his body began to explode one by one. With each explosion, a cloud of black mist erupted, forming a twisted human face in the air that let out a piercing wail. The people he killed, Ajarn Pu crawled toward us. The blood amber is setting them free. Luang Fo Boon's screams faded, leaving behind only a shriveled corpse. The blood amber was embedded in his forehead like a third eye. My hands trembled as I removed the bead. It was redder than ever, the symbols inside flowing with a life of their own. Go quickly, Ajarn Pu coughed. The police are coming. I helped him stumble down the stairs. Just as we reached the door, we heard sirens approaching. We hid in the shadows as police cars swarmed the factory. How did you know they were coming? I whispered. Ajarn Pu smiled weakly. I called them, with Luang Fo Boon's phone. Back in the car, I did my best to clean Ajarn Pu's wounds. He looked 20 years older than his actual age, but his eyes were clearer than ever. Why did you help me? I asked. To atone, he said, looking back at the factory. I was the one who brought Luang Fo Boon into this life. I share the guilt for the people he killed. I started the car. Where to now? To your sister, Ajarn Pu said, closing his eyes. Luang Fo Boon's curse isn't fully broken. Your sister and her friend are still in danger. Halfway there, Ajarn Pu began to cough violently, blood spilling from his lips. I pulled over. Are you okay? He shook his head and pulled a worn notebook from his robes, handing it to me. My book of spells, the counterspell is in here. Hang on, we're almost at the hospital. Ajarn Pu grabbed my hand. It's no use. Luang Fo Boon put a death curse on me. Listen, there's a soul trapped in the blood amber. You have to release her to break the curse completely. What soul? How do I release her? I asked frantically. On the night of the full moon, use the blood of the one who cast the first spell. Ajarn Pu's voice grew weaker. Stella, you must use her blood. Before he could finish, his head slumped to the side. He was gone. I shakily checked for a pulse, tears blurring my vision. A police car sped past us. I wiped my eyes and started the car again. This was no time for grief. My sister and Amy were waiting. When I got back to the safe house, Lily was awake and reading a book. She gasped when she saw me covered in blood. Cease. What happened to you? It's okay, it's not my blood, I said, quickly washing up before opening Ajarn Pu's notebook. Most of it was in Thai, but a few pages were written in English, detailing the history of the blood amber. The blood amber, the first artifact created by Luang Fo Boon at the age of 20. He used the blood and bone of his first love, Suchit, as a catalyst, trapping her soul within the bead, damning her to an eternity without peace. I gasped. Luang Fo Boon had used his own lover's soul to create a magical artifact. I read on. The counter spell. On the night of the full moon, stain the bead with the blood of the original caster, and chant the name such it 3 times. The soul will be released, and the curse will be broken. I checked the calendar on my phone. Tonight was the full moon. Sis, what are you reading? Lily asked, leaning over curiously. I closed the notebook. Nothing. How are you feeling? Much better. Just a little hungry. I realized we hadn't eaten. I was about to order takeout when my phone rang. It was the hospital. Ms. Yu, your friend Amy Lynn's condition has taken a turn for the worse. The doctors have issued a critical warning. My heart clenched. I'm on my way. After making sure Lily was okay, I rushed to the hospital. Amy's parents were crying outside her room. The doctor told me her organs were failing rapidly, but they couldn't find a cause. We've done everything we can, he said helplessly. I touched the blood amber on my chest. It was cold as stone. I had to break the curse soon, or Amy wouldn't make it through the night. As I was leaving the hospital, my phone rang again. It was the PI. Ms. Yu, Stella has disappeared from the hospital. When? About an hour ago. The security footage shows her just walking out, but she looked like she was sleepwalking. I gripped my phone. Find out where she could have gone. Check any places with a connection to the moon. After hanging up, I looked up at the sky. A full moon hung high above, its cold light casting a frosty glow on the ground. Stella must have gone somewhere to complete a final ritual, and I had to find her before midnight and use her blood to break the curse. The blood amber suddenly vibrated. An idea hit me. I remembered a place, the glass conservatory at the Su family's villa. It was Stella's favorite spot, and you could see the moon perfectly from there. I started the car and raced toward the Su estate. The closer I got, the hotter the blood amber became, as if it were guiding me. Tonight, everything would be settled. The iron gate to the Su family's villa was ajar. I slipped inside silently. The courtyard was dead quiet, but the glass conservatory at the back of the house was glowing with an eerie blue light. The blood amber on my chest was vibrating so intensely it felt like it would burn through my skin. I crept along the wall and peered through the glass. Stella, dressed in a white nightgown, was kneeling in the center of a pentagram drawn in fresh blood. The lucky charm bracelet on her left wrist was now completely embedded in her flesh, the black beads and festering skin a gruesome sight. But what truly shocked me was the person lying in front of her. It was Sarah, unconscious. By the moon, with blood as my guide, Stella's voice was a hoarse rasp. I offer the blood of my own kin, in exchange for... I threw the door open. Stop. Stella turned her head slowly. In the moonlight, her face was pale as death, her eyes shot with blood. Chloe, you finally came, she grinned, revealing bloody gums. Just in time to be a witness. Are you insane? That's your sister. I yelled. A worthy sacrifice to stay alive, Stella said, raising a bone knife. Luang Fo Boon told me only the blood of a close relative could suppress the backlash. That's when I noticed a deep, gushing wound on her right wrist. But the blood flowing from it wasn't red, it was a sickly black. Luang Fo Boon is dead, I said coldly. You have no one left to protect you. Stella's hand trembled. Impossible. The master, he used you, I said, inching forward. Stealing my luck was just the beginning. What he really wanted was you and your sister's lives. You're lying. Stella shrieked, pressing the bone knife to Sarah's throat. Stay back. One more step and I'll kill her. I stopped, my hand secretly reaching into my pocket for the small knife Ajarn Pu had given me. Why do you hate me so much? We were best friends for 10 years. Stella's eyes filled with venom. Because you have everything. A good family, talent, friends. Even the guy I had a crush on for 4 years fell for you the second he met you. She laughed hysterically. Do you have any idea how hard I have to work for the things you get so easily? I was stunned. I never knew her hatred ran so deep. So you went to Thailand to find Luang Fo Boon? No, he found me. Stella's expression suddenly went vacant. He said I had a special fate, that I was suited for practicing secret arts. The lucky charm was just the first step. I took another step forward. What did he use to control you? A promise. Stella's knife drooped slightly. He said if I helped him find a suitable vessel, he would teach me the secret to eternal life. A vessel? What vessel? Stella snapped back to reality, pressing the knife to Sarah's throat again. You're trying to trick me, she sneered. It doesn't matter. Once the ritual is complete, you'll be silenced forever. She raised the knife, aiming for Sarah's heart. In that split second, I threw my own knife, which spun through the air and embedded itself in her wrist. The bone knife clattered to the floor as Stella let out a piercing scream. I lunged forward, shoved her aside, and grabbed Sarah, running for the door. Behind me, Stella let out an animalistic howl. You're all going to die. The temperature in the conservatory plummeted, and frost instantly coated the glass. Stella stood in the center of the pentagram, using her bleeding wrist to draw symbols in the air. As she did, the blood on the floor began to glow, and a foul-smelling black mist seeped from the wound on her arm. With my blood, I summon your soul. Stella shrieked. Such it. Appear. The black mist coalesced into the shape of a woman with long, flowing hair and a blurry face. The blood amber suddenly shot out from under my collar, hovering in the air, confronting the mist. Is that Such-It's soul? I watched in shock. Stella laughed maniacally. Surprised? Luang Fobun taught me how to control the blood amber long ago. The black mist lunged at me, but the blood amber shot out a beam of red light, forcing it back. The two forces clashed in mid-air, emitting a deafening screech. I used the opportunity to move Sarah to a safe corner and turned to face Stella. Stop this. You have no idea what you're playing with. It's too late. Stella cackled. Such-It's soul needs a new vessel, and your sister is the perfect choice. I finally understood her real plan. It wasn't to stop the backlash, it was to turn Sarah into the new Such-It. The black mist lunged again, this time swerving around the blood amber and heading straight for me. Just as I thought it was over, the bead erupted in a brilliant red light that illuminated the entire conservatory. From the light, a clear female figure emerged from the bead, a beautiful woman in traditional Thai clothing, her expression sad but gentle. Such-It? Stella stared, stunned. No, this is impossible. The figure spoke, her voice ethereal. Ms. Su Luang Fobun deceived you. He wanted your sister's young body to resurrect me. Stella looked like she'd been struck by lightning. What? I never wanted to be resurrected, Such-It's soul said sorrowfully. It was Luang Fobun's obsession that imprisoned my soul for 20 years. The black mist suddenly went berserk, attacking Such-It's soul. The red light from the blood amber began to flicker and fade, as if it couldn't hold on much longer. Use her blood. Such-It yelled at me. Only the caster's blood can end this. I snatched the bone knife from the floor and ran at Stella. She tried to dodge, but the blood pentagram she'd drawn trapped her. I grabbed her injured wrist and smeared her blood onto the amber bead. No. Stella screamed, struggling. Such-It. I yelled 3 times. Such-It. Such-It. The blood amber flared with one last, brilliant burst of red light. Such-It's soul became crystal clear. She smiled at me, then turned to the black mist. Enough, it's time to end this. She opened her arms and embraced the black mist. The two merged, erupting in a blinding white light. All the glass in the conservatory shattered, and moonlight poured in like a waterfall. In the white light, I saw Such-It and the black mist dissipate together, turning into tiny specks of light that floated up toward the moon. The blood amber fell to the floor with a thud, its color now a dull, ordinary dark red. Stella collapsed in a pool of blood. The lucky charm beads on her wrist fell off one by one. As they left her body, her skin aged at a terrifying rate. In seconds, she went from a woman in her 20s to an old woman in her 70s. No, no, she wailed, touching her wrinkled face in despair. I picked up the blood amber and found it was now cold to the touch. The symbols inside had vanished. It was just an ordinary amber bead. I heard sirens in the distance. The neighbors must have called the police. I looked at the dying Stella and the unconscious Sarah, and dialed 911. 3 days later, in the hospital hallway. Sis, did you see the news? Lily handed me her phone. Stella was arrested for multiple counts of attempted murder, but the doctors can't explain how she aged overnight. I glanced at the headline. What goes around comes around. Lily looked curiously at the amber bead on my neck. That necklace has gotten lighter. Because its job is done, I said with a smile. The door to the hospital room opened. Ms. Yu Amy Lin is awake, the doctor said. All her vitals are returning to normal. Lily and I looked at each other and smiled. We walked into the room to see Amy weakly sipping water. When she saw us, she smiled. Lily, Chloe, how are you feeling? I asked. Like I had a very long nightmare. Amy frowned. In my dream, a woman in Thai clothes told me, it's all over now. My sister and I exchanged a look. It seemed Suchit's soul had lifted all the curses before she found peace. When we left the hospital, the sun was setting. Lily linked her arm through mine. Sis, what happened to Sarah? I heard she went abroad to recover, I said, looking at the sunset. I hope she can start over. The amber bead on my neck felt slightly warm, as if in agreement. I knew this journey of curses and redemption had finally come to an end. The end.